My name is Melissa Deers. I'm Executive Director of the Fremont Area Community Foundation. Marv just happens to be one of our favorite people. If you'd like to have a seat, Marv. Want to take a load off for a little bit? Okay, the chair is on her. There you go. We're here today to celebrate not only...
pictures.
Fine. All right.
Not only Marv's 98th birthday, but what a wonderful partner he's been over the years to so many in our community, and in particular the Fremont Area Community Foundation. I wanted to start by sharing a video that was... Oh, no, this is a good one. This is the one that the Fremont Area Chamber of Commerce put together and shared about a week or so ago at its annual Hall of Fame banquet. Marv was inducted into the Chamber Hall of Fame. And Tara Lee, yes, thank you very much. Tara Lee, who is Executive Director of the Fremont Area Chamber, standing at the back by the drink station. Good morning. Shared this video with me, and I would love to share it with you. I always find it amazing that as many conversations as I've had with Marv over the years, I always end up picking up a new little tidbit that I had never known before, and it happened again when I watched that video. So Hannah is graciously going to go ahead and cue this up, and it's just a short video. It won't take us too long.
We graduated from high school together, and 3 years later we got married. 48, we had our son Bob, and then our youngest son John was born in 53. Bob had two, a boy and a girl, and John has just one boy, and then Bob has two great-grandchildren now, or two grandchildren, and I got two great-grandchildren, 4 years old.
Marv Welstead is truly a community treasure, and one for me personally. Marv, I've had the pleasure of working with over many years, but in particular during my time on the Fremont Area Community Foundation. Marv was one of the founders, one of the original founders of the Community Foundation 38 years ago, and he has been on our board, at least as a board member, ever since day one. But that's just the tip of the iceberg for Marv Welstead. It would be very difficult to try to identify somebody in our community who has had more of an impact on the Fremont area than Marv. Marv has played a role in our community that has truly helped shape the Fremont area, and I don't know that a lot of people can say that. Marv was there at the table at the beginning of a lot of critical organizations in our community.
So I was treasurer of Chamber of Commerce from 54 till 60, I believe it was. Yeah. And then they elected me vice president and president. Then 67, I was president of the Chamber of Commerce. We started during my tenure the Friday morning coffees, and as a result, I've seen businessmen who are on opposite channels sit down, work together, and solve problems. Along the way, as I say, we saw the need for the Industrial Foundation, and that's how we organized that. And I became first president of that. So I was on city council from 51 to 54. Bob Doherty became president of Nebraska Commerce and Industry, and he was to appoint. He had directors in his district, and so he appointed me as a director. So I was on the board then for a number of years, and became vice president and president of that in 1982. John Kerrigan came to my office one day and he says, "What in the hell is the FBI checking on you for?" I don't know. Well, found out I was appointed to the Small Business Administration Advisory Council by Reagan. So I have to go back to Washington every 3 months.
He is truly a treasure, and when I think of the term philanthropist, Marv is a living, breathing example of what philanthropy is all about, giving back to community in ways both great and small, in ways that are both volunteer effort and by using whatever assets you might have that can help build a program. He leads the way every time. All of us have been touched by Marv Welstead and hope to follow his example for years to come.
So, really an amazing legacy. Marv taught many in our community about the 4 C's of estate planning. I've learned them well, Marv. Children, church, charity of choice, and community. These are the things we should remember as we plan to provide for our family after we're gone and consider the legacy we'd like to leave behind for our community. So thankfully, many area individuals took to heart those lessons and have transformed not only the Community Foundation, but many other vital organizations in our community. What started with a small gift, an estate gift made by a little lady named Ethel Whalen to start a community foundation, a gift of $53,000. Today our community foundation stands at administering assets of $26.7 million. And we have made over $31 million in grants in our 38 years. So Marv has served on the Fremont Area Community Foundation Board of Directors since its beginning 38 years ago, and again served as president in '84, and then again from 1990 to '99. While many milestones in our foundation's history are personally attributable to Marv's tireless work and dedication, highlights of his tenure include the Kiewit Community Challenge. In 2000, the foundation was challenged by the Peter Kiewit Foundation to match a $250,000 grant in just 5 years. Marv took the challenge and chaired the committee that raised $309,000 in gifts and pledges in just 89 days. He also founded the Legacy Society in 1995, which recognizes the thoughtful and generous decisions of those who provided for the foundation in their estates. Today, the Legacy Society stands at over 234 members. Marv's commitment to community is reflected in the many organizations he's served over his lifetime in Fremont. He currently serves as honorary chairperson of the Fremont Area Alzheimer's Collaboration, was president and Paul Harris Fellow of the Fremont Rotary Club, and president of Nebraska Commerce and Industry. He served on the Midland University Board of Trustees, as mentioned in the video, as president of the Fremont Area Chamber, and was a charter member and president of the Fremont Industrial Foundation, now known as the Greater Fremont Development Council. He was a charter member and treasurer of the Community Chest, which is now known today as Fremont Area United Way. People can remember the Community Chest back in the day. And co-chaired the Fremont Area Art Association's building campaign. He's a life member of Shriners, and he's been a member of the Methodist Church for many, many years. Of course, much of the good work Marv has done was shared by the late Jean Welstead, Marv's high school sweetheart, wife of 67 years, his Jeannie with the light brown hair, I think is what he's always imagined. So for his dedication, tireless efforts, and commitment to furthering the work of the foundation, we are pleased to honor and celebrate Marv on the occasion of his 98th birthday with a ponytail palm bonsai tree. Hannah, maybe you can lift that up and I'll tell you what the inscription says. Of course, our logo is a tree, so we love trees. It says, for your tireless support and visionary leadership of the Fremont Area Community Foundation for 38 years and a lifetime of service to the Fremont community. So next, I would like to invite up a longtime friend of Marv's, a good friend of the Community Foundation as well, our immediate past president, Russ Peterson, who would like to say just a few words.
Thanks, Melissa. So, we know about Marv's accomplishments and all the things that he has done over the years. Excuse me. And I thought maybe it'd be interesting to find out some stories about Marv that we don't know. And so, Marv graciously met with me, and he's hard to pry stories out. And I'm sorry, I'll warn you up in advance. I don't have anything really juicy, but I found some really interesting things out about Marv that I thought would be fun to share. Some of them refer to the things that have been in the video and what Melissa has referenced. But his grandfather's birthday, Marv's is today, so he's 98 today. So before we wrap up, we have to sing him happy birthday. But his grandfather's birthday was yesterday, or would have been yesterday. And he passed just shy of his 96th birthday. And Marv was saying that for the first 18 years of his life, his birthday party was always celebrated with his grandfather. But what was fascinating, he says, and my grandfather was a veteran of the Civil War. And I thought, oh my goodness. So, Marv was a skate boy at a local roller skating rink when he was young. I think you hung up your skates, haven't you? Yeah. And he had said that's where he wooed Jean, who became his wife. She showed up with a farm boy who couldn't stand up on skates, and apparently he skated with her all night. That was kind of how they first got to know each other. So, how many of you know, I mean, maybe some of you do, that Fremont had two newspapers at one time, Fremont Tribune and the Fremont Guide, and Marv worked as a carrier for the Fremont Guide. Tribune? So Lester owned the Guide then at the time. Okay, so Lester Walker, who he knew, which if any of you are connected to the foundation, it's a very gracious gift that he left the foundation also, and I'm sure through Marv's influence. But Marv was a carrier with him and became a route supervisor. Also knew Hazel and Bert Keene, right? So names that oftentimes we hear connected with funds that foundation uses, but this guy was friends with those individuals, and that's cool to see. Marv joined the service in World War II and went to Arkansas to Camp Robinson, and Gene soon followed him down there. He was the first one on the camp base. There was nobody there, and they needed a stenographer, right? And Marv said, well, Gene can come down and do it. So Gene came down and joined, and Marv says, well, she quickly outranked me because she was in charge of the rationing coupons, which, for those that are younger, probably doesn't mean anything. But he said she had access to the colonel's car whenever she wanted to go into town. So, and then service took him to California, and he lived in the house that was owned and actually lived in initially by Douglas Fairbanks and Mary Pickford. Can I see a show of hands who knows who Douglas Fairbanks is? It's kind of like they were married. It's kind of like a combination of maybe Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep being married. They were that powerful and impactful in Hollywood at the time, and they turned their house over to housing for the servicemen in the area, and so. I think you were kind of one of the first ones to have access to that too, right? So timing is everything, right, Mark? He became friends with a guy by the name of Gordon Luce from California through an education program that he was taking with the American Savings and Loan Institute. And one day he was called by Gordon down the road and said, hey, I need you to come to a special meeting in Chicago. And Mark goes, and he's one of 15, and I think you said your spouses were along, but one of 15 individuals, and walked in a room, and here's a round table with 15 phones on the table, and he picked up his phone, and it's Ronald Reagan. He hadn't been elected yet, but he wanted to hear from Marv. Can I win in Nebraska, Kansas, and Iowa? And you must have given him good advice, because he did win. And you saw some of his involvement that led to being involved on it's a U.S. Small Business Advisory Committee that he served on, and he was the picture up here that shows him with Ronald Reagan. He says it has an interesting story behind it, because he said Jean was with him, and she was kind of nervous and said, well, "What do I say to the president?" Marv said, "Well, say whatever you want." And so she gets up to shake his hand and said, all she could come up with, "I'm with him." And the president says, Ronald Reagan says, "What do you want to be with him for?" And he's also had the opportunity to sit on the couch with then Vice President Richard Nixon, and get to know Gerald Ford when he was coming through the state helping campaign for some national candidates who were running from here. I asked him, I said, "What's the biggest change you've seen?" And knowing Marv, he goes back to the community, and he says, "The change I've seen is Fremont, the growth of Fremont." He said, "I remember when the sign that said 8,900 people living in Fremont was changed to 14,000. And unfortunately, our sign that says 25,000 hasn't changed for about 30 years. But, Fremont has seen a lot of growth, and a lot of it due to what Marv has done over the years. I said, "Tell me about your philosophy. Why do you give your time? I mean, what is it?" And, Marv is hard to pull some of that stuff out of, but after we kind of chatted a little bit, he said, I felt if I saw a need, I should decide what I can do about it. And if you're going to tackle something, do your best. I mean, that's great wisdom. As I've known Marv over the years, the one thing that strikes me about Marv is, I would sum him up that he's a humble but tenacious leader. And a lot of people see problems. Or complain about problems, but how many people jump in and figure out ways to solve problems? That's Marv Welstead. So. Marv said we wrapped up our conversation. I don't know how long we talked, an hour and a half or something like that. It was a while, and so I can't share all the stories, but. He wrapped up kind of saying, "I feel blessed. I've just been blessed in my life." And I guess, Marv, we've also been blessed to have you in our lives, whether it's the country, the state, and particularly the community of Fremont. You have made such an impact, and for that we celebrate you today on your birthdays.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marv.
We're going to sing Happy Birthday as Marv blows out his candles. I wanted to start, my plan was to have actually 98 individual candles on this cake, but Russ said that the fire marshal wouldn't probably. So we
Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, dear Marv. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you. Now, am I supposed to blow those out then?
You need help?
Need some help?
Huh?
Need some help?
Can you
with
help me?
blowing those out?
Huh? Yeah, all right. Bob, why don't you lift her up there and let her do it? Okay? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you too, young man. Okay? Thank you. John is on his way here from Milwaukee, and that's his lovely wife, Tess. And she was a high school girl like Jeannie was when she showed up at our house. Wound up, Bob and she got married. That's great. Then we have our granddaughter Katie and her husband Mike, and our special great-grandchildren are Ellie. Yeah, that a girl. Ellie and Zachary.
Okay, wonderful. Please enjoy.
I want to say that I feel really blessed, and I had good parents. I had a wonderful wife, 67 years, and of course two great sons and their families. So I have really been blessed. I've had the opportunity to, and the honor to work on many worthwhile projects in Fremont with many talented, dedicated individuals, and that is a blessing in its own right. And so I really feel blessed. I'm also blessed that my relationship with the Community Foundation, and I'm going to thank Melissa and Russ here on where I've been a resident for 11 years, and for sponsoring this birthday party. And Melissa, I can't thank you enough, and Amy, wherever she is, and Lee at the Community Foundation for all of their support as we go through these different projects. Also, the Fremont Area Alzheimer's Group and the Fremont Area Community Foundation, the Board of Directors. They have been very supportive of me for many, many years, and I appreciate them very much. And I thank everybody that's here today. I appreciate you coming, and may God bless you. Thank you.